Honored guests, we now present a discussion on the current geopolitical landscape in Africa between His Excellency Professor Robert Dussey, Minister of Foreign Affairs, African Integration, and Togolese Abroad, Togolese Republic, and Ambassador J. Peter Pham, Distinguished Fellow, Atlantic Council.
Thank you very much, Colin, for the introduction, and thank you to our hosts for this opportunity to have this discussion with my longtime friend and colleague, Professor Robert Dussey, who's one of the longest-serving foreign ministers in Africa, in fact, globally as well, and a scholar as well of many of the subjects we were discussing. In many respects, talking about the geopolitics of Africa, we increasingly recognize in the fact that we've had this morning President Kagame, Chairperson Moussa Faki, and then just Ambassador Ahmed Abubakar just now, the prominence of Africa that's increasingly recognized, not only for the security challenges which have been just mentioned, the fact that the Global Terrorism Index records that nearly half of the total fatalities in the world to terrorism last year were in just one region of Africa, the Sahel, but also because of the dynamism of the continent. 9 of the 20 fastest growing economies this year, according to the International Monetary Fund, are going to be African countries. The resources of Africa are increasingly critical to the energy transition, to the new technologies that we have ahead of us. But in all that, there's also the geopolitics. And I think there's a shift in that makes this discussion very, very important. And I'll turn it to you to maybe make some initial comments on that.
Thank you so much, dear Peter. In terms of geopolitical, I think we have to know African continent is changing. When we talk about geopolitical issues in the world, and particularly in Africa, we have right now the new leadership in Africa. So behind the geopolitical vision in Africa, we can add the vision about all the minerals, all the, the riches what we have in Africa. So we say geopolitical, and through geopolitical we talk about politics. We need to see and to know behind political vision, you have the economy. So I agree with you, the role of African continent right now is very important. That's why we need to know what is happening really in African continent. And also we need to listen to the African people and African leaders. So I can say African continent is one of the continents what we can have a specific vision for the peace in the world.
Yeah. But as you just said there, for all the importance, let's be frank, there have been some setbacks. And I'm not talking about the setbacks that have been discussed earlier today of coups and governance. I'm talking about setbacks in the interests of some of Africa's traditional partners. I'm an American. We've just had the humiliation of being asked to leave 2 bases in Niger. And we've had special operations forces withdrawn temporarily, officially, from Chad. And this follows upon, of course, France's much more humiliating expulsion from a number of African countries. Why are these setbacks? I think getting into the geopolitics, other actors, both state and non-state, are beginning to play a role. What can you say about the choices that Africans have now?
You know, I think, please don't take the situation in African continent like humiliation. It's not humiliation. As I say, and the President Kagame says, the President of African Union Commission say, Mustafaki, we need to understand what is happening in Africa. It's not humiliation. But I think you as Western, I'm not defending, you know, the countries like coup d'etat countries in Africa or in the West African region. I'm not defending them. But as Western, please, you have to review your approach. Because sometimes, you know, it's like you stay in Washington, in Paris, in Brussels, maybe here in Doha, and you decide to the African leaders and African people. It's not correct. I think the first problem is here. The approach is like, you know, the situation in Africa right now is not the situation before the Second World War. Now we are 16 years after most of the African countries' independence. So the vision of African continent, the vision of the new leaders, what we have in Africa, is not the same. You know, we have a lot of frustration in African continent. You can just discuss with the young people in Africa. But when you come, you say, you know, I want to be frank with you. You say, okay, I'm US. I stay in Washington. Hey, you are Togolese, who you are? Okay, you have to. Do it, don't do it. I say, hey, why? I'm Togolese, I'm African. Why you stay in Paris? Why you stay in Washington, in Moscow, in Tehran, everywhere in the world, and you decide for my people, to decide for African people? The thing what we say right now, first, you have to listen to us. Before you decide, come discuss with the people to try to understand what the people need for themselves. Second, you need also to respect the African people. It's not you. I know you, Peter, you are a very good guy, right?
I hope so.
But the approach is not a domination approach. Because, you know, now, when you see the African people, the African leaders, for them, it's like some people from Western, they have to dominate it. There is like a condescending, attitude. Sometimes it's like arrogance. And the new leaders say, no, we don't need condescending attitude anymore. We don't need arrogance anymore. We don't need the paternalism anymore. We have a maturity, the political maturity after 16 years of our independence to decide for ourselves, to decide for our people. I think it's very important to take it in your mind.
No, I think the point you make is a very strong one, and I think it's a critical one. We have to listen, and we have to appreciate the realities that are there. And one of the things that has always helped me, and I'll say it here, has always been having trusted interlocutors, partners. You were a very valuable partner and friend when I was in government, someone I could turn to give me the sense of what is really going on, what's there. And in many respects, we don't often appreciate those partners, those voices that can help intermediate. And I'd like to call out, yesterday we had a wonderful discussion here with the Minister of State in the Foreign Ministry about the state of Qatar's role in negotiations and mediation. And in many respects, in a different scale and different place, what Togo has done, punching, I would say, above its diplomatic weight. Tell us a little about what you've managed to do quietly, unobtrusively in helping ameliorate some of the more tense situations that Chairperson Moussa Faki mentioned earlier, or Ambassador Abubakar just talked about, some of the things you've been able to do.
Yeah, you know, the Togolese, a Togolese diplomacy or policy or a foreign policy is foreign policy of neutrality is very important. We want to be neutral. Of course, in West African region, in ECOWAS community, if you know, we try to listen to everyone. We try to discuss with everyone. The situation, for example, the last coup d'etat in our region, in Niger, as Ambassador Abubakar said, it was very difficult for everyone, you know, now to continue to see the coup d'etat in our region. But we say, as a member of ECOWAS, when you see the sanction, political sanction against the people and the new authority of Niger, we say is very hard for them. So how we can take this kind of sanction against the people? Humanitarian sanction also. So we say, yes, the situation is not normal, is unacceptable, but we need to discuss with them. That way, for us, dialogue is very important. Without dialogue, without a discussion with the people, we cannot find a good solution. So we are happy to know after 6 months, ECOWAS decided, you know, to review his position, and the situation is normal right now between Niger and ECOWAS and Niger and international community also. So as our friend here in Doha is doing, because we are supporting them, thank you for inviting us here and discuss. We want to have, you know, to try to do our best for mediation, discuss with everyone, and find a solution between us. Because the reality of the power in African continent, in West African part, is to make a dialogue, to discuss, and to be tolerant also. Because we cannot say, as I say, you are Western. We cannot stay in Lomé. Lomé is the capital of Togo, if you don't know. So I invite you for next time. So we cannot stay in Lomé and we say, okay, the situation is good or is bad in Niger, and we have a solution for you. No, we don't have a solution. The solution only can come from the people and the new leaders of the country like Niger, or everywhere in Africa. That's why we say to have a neutrality, to try to listen and make a dialogue between the people of the country is very important. So the Togolese foreign policy is for neutrality. Yeah.
You know, this forum this year has a theme that discusses the tension and the interplay between competition and interdependence. And, you know, I reflect on that and think that very often, and this is my personal opinion, having worked on Africa for many years and worked with you and many others, that it's unhelpful for outside partners to insist on us or them, or to lecture or hector about that's a bad partner, that's a problematic one, without thinking about why our friends in Africa are engaging, what they're seeking, what their priorities are. And, you know, I've proposed that a better solution than saying don't go to them is offer a better offer. And if you can't do it by yourself, do it in partnership with others who can bring things that you can't, and, if you will, put together a group to offer a better value proposition.
You know, Peter, the problem is what we are saying, you know. We cannot say this partner is bad or good. We don't have a bad partners. We don't have a good partners. Each country have to see his interests. One of the problems what we have is you come, we are friends, of course, we discuss together, and you come to tell us, look at, Robert is a bad guy. Don't deal with him. Robert is a good guy. You can deal with him. Why you come to tell us this one is bad, this one is good guy? You know, each country has his interest. So the vision, what we need is, in terms of good cooperation, to respect all the partners. Maybe the partners is bad for you, but it's not bad for us. Maybe the partners can be good for us and bad for you. Mm-hmm. It depends, you know. So I think we need only to push, to try to see, because we are not talking like it's not a personal deal, it's a state deal, it's our country deal. So to see what is the interest of the country, what is the interest of that state. So it's more important to see our interest and to respect our choice. If you don't respect our choice, I think, that's why I told you, I think we need to review, you need to review your approach. We need a new approach about African matters in the world.
Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right. And I think the key to that is, instead of saying that's a bad deal, say this is a better one. I can put together a syndicate, if you will, thinking in business terms, a syndicate that can bring more things, better things, a better value proposition. And I think that is a more constructive way forward, given the needs, the great needs of Africa, infrastructure, to develop the riches that exist there, that require infrastructure, investments in energy, in human capital. No one country or even group of countries can do it by themselves, but we're stronger with partners. And I think that's the key, and we have to think a little outside the box.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I think what is important right now is to respect the sovereignty of each country. It's very important. And when you come as partner, you need to find a good way how you can deal with us. Is one of the key for the good partner, for the good partnership between you and us is very important.
So, you know, looking at the whole range of challenges and yet opportunities there, you know, what would you say are the top priorities that, if we are listening to Africans and African leaders, what are the top priorities that we should be talking about? Not our priorities, but what are your priorities that we can help address?
Yes, you know, it's clear for us. Our priority is the economic development in the African countries. So that's why we say, we know we have a lot of things in Africa. Africa is going up, as you know yourself. So we need a good partner to help us. Not only the vision about politics matters, but how about our economy? You know, you can see, for example, you can take only the country like Democratic Republic of Congo. They have cobalt. We are using cobalt for all our mobiles, you know, the batteries in our, etc., etc. So we need a good partner, for example, in the country like DRC, to make a good deal with them, with that country. We have a lot of gold, a lot of, diamond in Africa. So a good company can make deal with African countries and, because our priority as leaders is to change, the life of our population, the life of the people. So we cannot change the life only by politics. We need, as a leader, to change their life by the economy. So good deal by economy, good deal to transform our economy is what is our first priority. So in the area, or like, for example, the west part of Africa, we say to change by economy, to change the life of the population by economy, we need a security also. How we can change the life of the population of Sahel countries like Mali, like Burkina Faso, like Niger, without a security. And one of the problems with international community is, for example, some friends come in that country and they say, okay, you did coup d'etat, you have to go to the election. When you discuss with most of the leaders of that country, they say, how I can go back to the democratic regime, or how I can organize, for example, the election if I don't control all my country. You can see the situation, for example, in Burkina Faso. I know the authorities of Burkina Faso say they will probably organize the election in 5 or 10 years. The people say, no, we have to go to the election right now. But the reality on the ground is what? It's clear. They are controlling maybe 45 or 50% only of the country. Can you go to the election if you are controlling only the capital and around the capital of your country? How about the rest of the country? So the solution is not only to go to the election, because you can go to the election and after 1 year, we can have a coup d'etat, or after a new election, a democratic election, another coup d'etat. So it will be like election, democratic regime, coup d'etat, democratic regime, coup d'etat, democratic regime, coup d'etat. So the good solution is economic development. Security is very, very important. Without security, we cannot develop really our economy and also to transform the life of our population. I think these two cases are very important for the African continent and all the African countries.
Yeah. No, I fully agree with you. When I was special envoy for the Sahel, one of my talking points, maybe ad nauseum for some of my audiences, was to constantly say that the root of the crisis is not democracy. The root of the crisis is the crisis of state legitimacy, that the governments have not been able, for whatever reason, to connect with their populations, to provide basic protection, basic services to the people, to touch their lives, and therefore have their loyalty and support. And until that is addressed, one is condemned, as you say, to elections, coups, and that ultimately we have to address that long term. Otherwise, it's a lot of waste of energy, a lot of waste of money, a lot of waste, unfortunately, of lives. But we don't address the deep roots of the crisis, and that's important. In the remaining time that is left for us, ask you to, we talk about Africa, we talk about the continent of 54 states, and it's great that we're having this conversation in the midst of a global security forum. This is Africa's security as part of global security, and it fits in. What would the message be for those who don't follow Africa as passionately or as routinely? What would you have us remember as we go forward from here and get back to our lives and Tete, what would you have us remember?
About African only?
About Africa or the global system, or as an African, what would you want non-Africans to remember?
It's a big question. I just hear what the President Kagame say about the African vision. As we say, our main priorities are economy and security in our continent. What we would like to ask you is we need right now in African continent the new approach about the partnership. We don't need, anymore the paternalism approach. We don't need anymore the arrogance approach. We don't need anymore the condescending approach. We need the respect. Is very important. And this respect is good and is good for everyone. It's good for you as a Western partner and good for us also. Now we have, a new leadership in the continent. You can see the president as a president, like President Kagame. Also like my president, Pham. They have the same vision for each of the country. So when you as partner, you come and you say, okay, I would like to deal with you, I would like to help you to develop your country. But first of all, what you need, we have a seat, we discuss together. You listen me. You listen us before, and you find a solution together. Is a good approach. It's very important. The first key is to listen to people before. Please, Peter, don't stay in Washington.
You know I don't. I'm never home.
And decide for me in Togo. And decide for the people of African continent, and decide for someone, and decide the people here in Doha. Before you come in here in Doha, or when you come here in Doha, we need to discuss with the people of Qatar, to listen them before. And if you have some solution for them, of course, after the discussion, you can do something. The second key is also, after to listening them, or the people of Africa, to see how we can help them to transform the economy. Because the key right now is about our economy, how we can transform the economy for the good life or better life of the population. I know it's not like the solution have to come from our partner like you. The solution have to be the African solution. For me, my own vision, my own conviction right now is, if African continent or each African countries have bad or good governance, it's come from African leaders. We are the responsibility if our continent and our country. I'm not saying, if something is bad or our problem is the foreign or the partners, interference, political interference. No, we have a bad political interference also. But the first responsibility of the African leader or African continent is from African leaders. So I want to be very clear. If something is bad, is as before. We need to criticize our own governance before. to see what you did for us, like bad or like good. So that approach is very important, and you would like to share this approach with you and to ask you, please, come like friend, come like, like good partner. Don't come in our continent, or don't come here like I'm Peter. Okay, you got what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you. And I think as I look back on the arc of my own career, when I started out working on Africa, it was the same year that the U.S. government, and this is almost 30 years ago, came out with a strategy document, and this was when Bill Clinton was president, Strategy for Sub-Saharan Africa, which began with, the United States has no strategic interests. My parents worried whether I'd ever make a living under those circumstances. Now no one would make a statement like that. We recognize the strategic importance for our own interests, but for the global good of Africa. And I think that, thank you very much for those points, the importance of listening and the importance of helping jumpstart economic growth and development. By mid-century, 1 in 4 working-age persons on the planet is going to be an African. And that's a great opportunity for Africa and for the world, or it could be a challenge, and it's up to us to do it. Thank you very much for this conversation and these points, and always good to see you, my dear friend.
Thank you, dear Peter.